hello. Thanks for joining us. My name's Adrian, and I look after engagement here at JADE. So today's session is our introductory session. These trainings are usually we get quite an eclectic group, lawyers of all types, from judges to in-house counsel and barristers, and law students come along quite often as well. Also, some of you might be new to the platform, new to the free, new to professional, or long-time users that are just looking for a bit of a refresh. But today's session really is kind of like the sampler session. Like I said, we're trying to cover a lot in 30 minutes. There are 3 more very in-depth sessions that we do in the following sessions that you can register for, that take a deep dive into some of these features a little bit more. But today is all about kind of what's available to you, where you can find everything, when and why you might want to use it, and how you get benefit from it. I will follow this session up with a couple of emails. One is with some links to some short tutorials, as well as the links to register for the follow-up training sessions. And this session is being recorded, so I'll send that out sometime next week as well. If you didn't register through Eventbrite, I might not have your email, so I will put it in the chat during the session, just so that you can send me an email directly if you want to make sure you get sent that email and you didn't come through Eventbrite. But some of the things we'll cover today, we obviously speak to lawyers of all types. There's always some really common problems that emerge. Kind of searching for relevant legal information can be really arduous and really time consuming. Many hours are lost to searching that could be better spent elsewhere. And there's often a trade-off between quality and efficiency, particularly when deadlines or long hours are involved. And it can be really frustrating for individuals and expensive for law firms and organizations. There's also a lot of challenges that arise around knowledge sharing, which can either result in gaps in knowledge or duplicate work, which can create some inefficiencies. And keeping up to date in an area of law can be really tricky, and sometimes just needs to take a bit of a backseat. And then there's kind of finding and gathering all of the necessary information that you need for your analysis and for your research can also take a lot of time. So we're going to show you a bunch of things today that can help with some of those. Before I pass over to Erica, who is our guru, I'll just give a bit of a rundown. We kind of think of our tools in 3 streams. There's our search tools, which are all about finding faster answers and getting to the crux of your research. Different ways to search, whether you know what you're looking for, or whether you're not sure what you're looking for, and how to access some really specific information quite quickly, or drill down into specific keywords within a document and just skim over 1 or 2 pages rather than reading a really large document and figuring out it's not even relevant to you. Then there's our library functionality that you might be able to see some of it in front of you. Where you can create and share your own library of annotated legal content. It's where you manage your JADE alerts if you haven't done that yet, and it's where all of your annotations and research that you tag is saved. You can securely upload your own documents. Check your citations, create links. You can export and share and things like that. And then there's our visualization tools, which are always, we always struggle to get to some of our visualization tools just because of the time frame in these half-an-hour sessions, but we do a whole hour on them in one of our other sessions, which everyone's more than welcome to join. But just as a bit of a summary, you can use the similarity tools to find, you can use the visualization tools to find similar cases to yours. You can you can track precedents and, get a helicopter view of legislation, see where provisions have changed and map out the differences and things like that. So with that, I think I will pass over to Erica, but I'll just ask, if you haven't already, if you could just mute yourself, and feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I'll be helping to monitor that. So yeah, Erica, I think I might pass over to you, and I might turn my screen off to preserve bandwidth in my house.
Excellent. Thanks, Adrian. I'll just change the screen that I'm sharing. Oops. So we can get started. Okay, so you should now be able to see the homepage of JADE. I'm logged in as a JADE professional user. If you are a JADE free user at the moment, you will note that the interface is the same. Where we look at tools that are available in the JADE professional platform, I'll call those out so you understand the difference. But the The feature card we showed just before also shows you which of those features are for JADE Professional subscribers. So as Adrian mentioned, this is a very quick tour, if you like, of JADE and how you can really gain efficiencies in your legal research by using our platform. So like any cloud-based legal research platform, you expect to be able to browse cases and legislation and bring those up on your screen. But JADE really brings with it a world of other tools that allow you to find that information faster. So when you first log into JADE, you're taken to the JADE browser page. And here you can see you've got the ability to browse judgments, you can browse by court, by topic, etc. And you can also browse legislation. And the default view that we have here is the cases of the High Court populated in reverse chronological order. So you're always viewing the most recent cases first. So we can see those cases yesterday are at the top of our list. But the real power in JADE comes from our search functions. So not only within JADE can we look for a particular case, by typing in a party name, or we could type in a citation, for example, where we have one, and bring that case up within JADE. We can also use the search bar to do pinpoint searches within cases as well. So you might start your research by reading a piece of commentary that refers to a case or cites a paragraph of a case but doesn't extract that paragraph in full. Using the JADE search bar, you can actually do that pinpoint search. So if we look for paragraph 2 of this case, and I click on the entry at the top of the list, then I can see that specific paragraph. And then if I want to see if there are any citations to that paragraph in Crump in New South Wales, I can choose the option at the bottom of the drop-down list to see if that paragraph has been cited elsewhere. So I can see that there's an internal citation to paragraph 2 within Crump itself. We can also use the search bar to search for legislation. So you can navigate your way to a piece of legislation by typing in the name and clicking on the drop-down, the relevant title in the drop-down list. And you'll see if you type in Duties Act, and there are other jurisdictions with acts of the same name, you get the ability to choose those as well. So as you would expect, and like you get with other online legal platforms, you're taken to the index of the Act. JADE gives you the ability to actually search the index itself though. So if I'm looking for say the provisions within this Act that deal with partnerships, I can type that keyword in my search box at the top of the index and then truncate the index. So I'm only looking at those provisions that contain the word partnership. And then I can also see whereabouts in the Act that word sits. If I wanted to do a full text search of the legislation for the word partnership, I can type the keyword using the find tool here, the magnifying glass. And then I can see there are 95 instances of partnership. So I can use my up and down arrows to navigate my way to each instance where that term appears. But with JADE Professional, by clicking on the focus match button, I can immediately shrink the document, if you like, so that I'm only viewing the relevant provisions which contain the word partnership. And so you can see here as I scroll through and I'm looking at these provisions, I can also see exactly where I am in the legislation and what subsection I'm looking at there. So that's a really useful tool if you, as the name suggests, you want to really get focused on the content that you're reading within the piece of legislation itself. And that focus match button is also available in cases. But we're not just limited to searching for a case, if we know the name of the case or citation, or a piece of legislation using the Omnibox. We can look at just specific sections of legislation by using the Omnibox. So for example, If we just want to read section 12BB of the ASIC Act, I type it in and in one click, I can read that section. I don't have to navigate my way to the whole of the Act and then find the section itself. And of course, lockdown life always says that when you're going to do a webinar, your bandwidth will slow down. I'll just try refreshing that and we'll see how we go. Okay, might just. JADE is quite agnostic as to how you type your section references. We all do it a little bit differently. I think some of us do an S and a space, some of us don't, some of us put a full stop after the S, and you might even type in section 14 of the Duties Act and JADE will recognise that for you. I'm not sure what's going on there, but you'll have to take my word for it that that section pops up in the window itself. You can also see I've got the ability to view the citations or be taken to a list of citations to that section of the Duties Act as well. But if we go into that provision within the Act itself here, when you're looking at legislation in JADE, where the provision that you're looking at has been cited in a case or referenced in another section of legislation or another piece of legislation, you will see one of these green clips to the right-hand side. And these are called JADE clips. And they're a very unique feature of the JADE professional platform in that I can click on a JADE clip here and find the most recent case that cites section 15 of the Duties Act. So I can see the most recent case was this one of Commissioner of State Revenue and Benidorm in November 2020. And here I can see the citations to the provision I'm looking at, section 15, at paragraph level, and they're highlighted there for me. This is a Court of Appeal decision, so I can also see which judge is speaking at this part of the judgment. And you can see here then we've got a couple of citations in other pieces of legislation as well, and we've got a tribunal decision there. So within this pop-up or JADE clip is a full list of those cases. Using JADE clips, you can refine your search results. So we can narrow our search to the decisions of appellate courts only by clicking on the appellate only link. So now we can see there's only one appellate decision citing this section, or where a specific section or subsection has been cited, I can narrow my results so I'm only looking at the cases which cite that subsection. And those subsections will also be picked up in a span of section references, as you can see here. If this is a provision that's relevant to my practice and I want to stay up to date with the most recent cases and other legislation which cites this section, from the JADE clip, I can do that with 2 clicks. So I click on alert and JADE is creating a citation alert and I click save. And so by doing that, then if tomorrow the court hands down a decision citing this section of the Duties Act, then on Monday, or Saturday, I should say, I will receive an email in my inbox with a link through to that case that cites section 15. And as a current awareness service, the alerts that are available to you in the JADE clips are really second to none. Some of you may already have some alerts set up to specific cases or sections of legislation or even paragraphs of cases, but there are other ways to create some really bespoke alerts that might be relevant to a matter that you're working on. Also from here, we can do a keyword search of our list of results by clicking on the citator link. So that takes us to the list of those cases, and then we've got the ability to edit our search. And we can edit our search by entering keywords and phrases, or we might want to refine our search based on a judge who heard a matter that cited this particular section, or a party that was involved in litigation in relation to this section, or the barristers and instructing solicitors representing a party in the litigation. And we'll have a look at that when we dive into citated directly. But that is one way from a JADE clip of being able to run a keyword search within those lists of results. And you will also see JADE clips within cases as well. So the JADE clips in cases indicate that particular paragraph has been cited in a later case. And if we look at Project Blue Sky, we can see here in our case trace box that we've got over 2,500 cases which cite Project Blue Sky. And as I scroll through, I can see JADE clips where particular paragraphs of this decision have been cited. But as we know, Project Blue Sky is a very frequently cited case. So what can I do to find the most important paragraph or most important paragraphs of this case based on how many citations there are to that paragraph? I can quickly and easily do that within JADE by going over to the left-hand side and using my document navigation tool. So when I click on that, I'm going to see an index to the headings in the case. But over on the right-hand side, I have a most cited link. So with JADE, just by clicking on that most cited link, JADE looks at those 2,500 cases which cite Project Blue Sky, and it's telling me that paragraph 69 is my money paragraph. That's the most cited. And I can see it's about statutory interpretation. And if I want to then review the list of results, or the list of cases which cite this particular paragraph, I can do that by clicking on the JADE clip. And indeed, if I want to keep up to date with every subsequent case from today onwards that cites paragraph 69 of Project Blue Sky, I just click on alert and save. So a really great way of analysing cases and also determining whether or not the case is still good law for your point of research. And you'll notice within JADE that we don't apply signals to cases to show them as having been distinguished or overturned, etc. And that's because with a lot of the platforms that do provide you with those signals, that's done at a very general level of the case. What we do with JADE by giving you access to these clips is enable you to look at how the case has been treated on a more granular level. So you can see every subsequent judicial pronouncement about paragraph 69 looking at this list of cases. JADE Professional also gives you a way of looking at this information differently. So we allow you to visualize this information. And if I click on the visualize link in the JADE clip, JADE is going to create a model so that I can see the relationships with shared citations between all of the cases which cite my paragraph of Project Blue Sky by looking at the diagram. So I can see here in green that all of these green dots represent a subsequent High Court decision that cites Project Blue Sky. And if I want to see how SAS Trustee Corporation and Miles cites Project Blue Sky, I just hover on that grey line, which then turns green, and I click on that and I can see the citations there in window. So rather than reading all of that information in text, the visualization tool gives me an insight into the relationships between my primary case of Project Blue Sky and all of the subsequent cases which cite paragraph 69. So then I can see those relationships, and then I can read the references back to Project Blue Sky. So if I want to look at the most recent court citing this case, our primary case, then I've got it right there, and I've got that information at my fingertips. The visualization tools that are available to you within a JADE Professional subscription, such as the one we looked at just then, are really quite unique. And as I say, they give you that a bit more of an insight to view relationships between cases. And one of the great ways this function works is if I'm doing a search on a topic or area of law, let's say, for example, I'm looking for cases on motor vehicle accidents and psychiatric injury. I can use the search bar at the top of the screen to formulate that search and hit the enter key. And in a matter of seconds, JADE will search the entire database, so all courts and tribunals of all jurisdictions, every collection of legislation, and will give me results for my search there. And I can see here that the order of my results are by best match. So those cases at the top of the list which contain most references to each of those key phrases. But using the visualize tool here, I can look beyond just the text that's on my screen, and I can see what relationships there might be between these cases. So that case at the top of my list was this one of Dungan and Padash. And all of the cases that appear with their names next to them are those which appear in my list of results, or the top cases containing the most citations which appear in my results. Obviously, with a search like that, 724 results, if we included everything within this diagram, you wouldn't be able to read it. But then I can see here, I've got some cases that appear fainter. So these are cases that have been cited by cases that have come up in my search results. So I can see that Dungan and Padash cites a 1990 High Court case there. And then I can, if I navigate my way to that case, Malik and JC Hutton, and then I follow the other lines, I can see what other cases in my results also share that citation. So I can see the citations in the Queensland District Court to that particular case as well. I can also see with the yellow dots, the various legislation that's cited in these cases and where those citations are shared. So it gives you really good insight into your search and allows you to see something over and above just a list of cases that match your search results. Within JADE, the JADE suite of visualization tools, you've also got the ability to view cases which might be similar to the primary case that you're looking at. So if we take Dungan and Padash as our example, and I click on that, if I click on the button here to the left-hand side, the visualizations icon, you can see I've got a tile for similarity. So JADE looks at the present case, our primary case, and then identifies cases which it thinks are similar to my primary case, not on shared fact scenarios, but on shared catchwords and shared authorities. And we load this as a diagram for you so you can see the relationships. So number one is Dungan and Padash. And the case that JADE has identified as being similar is this one of number two, being CABIC and AAI Limited. So we can see, looking at the catchwords, that the facts which gave rise to the proceedings in each of them were obviously different. But JADE's identified a similarity. So to discover what that similarity is, we click on the ball representing our primary case, and we can drag it closer to the case JADE has identified as being similar. And there is logic to the way these balls move around. So it does take a little bit of practice and a little bit of patience. And if you register for our visualization session, you'll learn more about this tool. But essentially, once I get them close together, if I select them in my shaded box, then I can see what the commonalities are. So I can see they both contain negligence in their catchwords, but that they both cite these authorities. So if I want to see how they both cite Malik and JC Hutton, I can click on that and I can view the citations side by side. So again, gives you a really interesting insight into cases beyond just seeing them in a list and having to read through them and come to your, or come to your own conclusions about what those relationships are. It actually shows you in a visual format what those relationships are. If we go back to our list of results for this search, you can also see I've got a button here to the right-hand side that allows me to save this search. And this is where with JADE Professional, you can get really bespoke about the alerts that you create. So I'm a personal injury practitioner. I deal mainly with motor vehicle accidents. This is particularly relevant for me. I want to save this and be alerted anytime JADE, a case is received by JADE that matches my search criteria. I just need to click Save this search, give it a name, and then select email, and once a day, save. JADE's going to do all the work for me. It's going to run that search for me once a day. And then if it gets a hit on my search term, I'm going to get an email in my inbox the next day with a link through to that case. You've got the ability to manipulate your search results and further refine them using tools on the left-hand side here. And in our search session, we do a deep dive into the different ways you can search within JADE. So I'd encourage you all to register for those subsequent sessions. But just in relation to, and I'm conscious of the time, and as Adrian said, we do cram a lot into this introductory session. But Adrian mentioned the library features that we also give you within the JADE platform. So JADE gives you an excellent way of creating your own online library of annotated content, which you can access anywhere you have access to the internet. So reading through this decision, I might highlight a few paragraphs of interest to me, and then I might want to group or allocate a topic to those paragraphs and then write some notes as well. So by highlighting the text and releasing the mouse button, I should get a pop-up window. And you will see there, JADE just remembered my search, and that's why it was highlighting those terms. There we go. I've got my pop-up window and I've got the ability to add a JADE mark. So I'm old school. I started studying law back in the 90s. So I like to think of this as my post-it notes and the notes I would write in the margin of a case. So I can type my research notes here, and then I can add a tag. So you can see here, I've got a suggested list of tags. These are my tags. They're not a set of tags that have been predetermined by an editor. I can name a tag whatever I like it. It only has to be meaningful to me. So let's say negligence. I haven't got a tag for negligence, but by hitting the enter key, I've created that tag, and let's say admissibility of evidence as well. When I pop out of that, it will now live in this content for me only until such time as I delete it. And again, one of the subsequent sessions that you will be able to register for is a deep dive into how to create and maintain your library, but also how to collaborate with your colleagues, whether they be your instructing solicitors or people within your practice group in a firm, to share your research as well. Just before I jump into my JADE, I did mention earlier that you've also got the Citator tool available to you as another form of search within JADE. We looked at that when we jumped into it from a JADE clip, but if you jump into Citator from this page, you'll see that you've got the ability to search citations of, say, a provision of legislation. So section 12BB of the ASIC Act, and then I can search for keywords and phrases as well. So that might be financial services. But in addition to this, as we saw when we looked at it from the JADE clip, we've also got the ability to search on all this other metadata that we we collect from the decisions that we ingest in JADE. So I might be looking for cases dealing with the wills and probate. No, that might not be the name of the act. Or is it the Probate Act? Let's say I'm looking for decisions on the Crimes Act in New South Wales, where the judge was Justice Fullerton, for example. I can select judge from my drop-down list and then click search, and I'll get all of the cases which were before Justice Fullerton and cite the Crimes Act. So any section of the Crimes Act. I could get quite specific about that and choose a specific provision, but for this example, I've just cited the whole of the Act. We find that barristers in particular really like the ability to run this search within JADE. If you are going before a judge and you want to find any previous judgments of that judge that have addressed the same provision of legislation or considered a particular case. So just going back to that search, I've typed in a citation there, but I could also add a case that I was interested in, and I wanted to see what Justice Fullerton had to say about a particular authority that was cited. So you can do that by typing in the case name or a citation, for example. So just to wrap up, you've seen that there are many different ways you can search within JADE over and above what you can do with some of the other platforms that are available to you. It's really quite a dynamic platform that enables you to search information in different ways so you can find it quickly, and gives you various starting points for your legal research as well. My JADE is where you manage your account, and if you create that library of content, annotated content, that's where you manage that. So if I go over to the left-hand side here and click on tags, then I will be able to see my my list of tags. And thank you. We've got a comment from Nikos. Brilliant. I will certainly go for JADE Professional. Thank you very much. Well, thank you too, Nikos. That's excellent to hear. And if you join those other sessions as well, you'll become a super user in no time, I'm sure. But here you can see my list of tags, and today I created negligence, and I can see the cases that I've allocated that tag to. Within JADE Professional and the My JADE section, you've also got the ability to upload documents to JADE. Why would you upload a document to JADE? And what kind of document would you upload to JADE? Well, it might be submissions for court, or it might be a precedent letter that you want to check for any necessary updates. Uploading a document to JADE means that your document is scanned and we hyperlink your citations within the scanned document. There's a three-stage encryption process when you upload a document, and the content that you upload is private to you. It's not available on the JADE database to every JADE user, but it is available within your library. So if you upload submissions like I have here, and you can see I've got to enter my passphrase, which I have created and forgotten, I have to say. No. I've created a passphrase, which means that all of my content is super encrypted, if you like. So you can set up your own password to be able to view your uploaded content. But by uploading your, it's going to ask me for my passphrase. I was testing that the other day and I've done such a good job of it. I can't access my own content because I forgot my password. But when you do upload your content, as I say, hyperlinks to cases and legislation cited are embedded. You can export that as a PDF document and share it so that other people can click on the links in the PDF and access the content. You can create a list of authorities if you've uploaded submissions and generate that quite quickly. But also too, you can create one of those similarity visualization models for your submissions. JADE will look at your submissions, look at the cases cited, and then we'll find cases similar to your submissions as well. The content you upload is part of your searchable library. So if you do choose to leave it on the JADE platform, then if your submissions had to do with a particular section of the Fair Work Act and cited that provision in the JADE clip, you would see your submissions within that list of results in the JADE clip. So we do look at document uploads again in the subsequent sessions. I'd encourage you all to register for those future sessions. I realise we've done a very quick run through today and that we've gone over time. So I'll hand over to you, Adrian, just to wrap up.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So, and thanks, Erica, that was great. As we mentioned, there are other follow-up sessions. You can register through them through the Eventbrite page that you registered for this one, though I am going to send out an email tomorrow with the links to that page and some short tutorials in case you want to refresh any of those things that you visited today or see anything else.
Sure.
Now, the recording to this I will send out next week. The one thing I find sometimes, though, and I put my email in the chat for everybody, is that if you've registered through a different email address or something like that, sometimes we get requests to send out the video when I have already sent it. So if we don't have the right email address for you, it might not go to the right one. So feel free to email me directly, and I'll make sure you're added to the list. But I think I might. Oh, the only other thing I was going to say, yes. So thank you, Nikos, for your message. If anyone's doesn't have access to JADE Professional and they would like to give it a try, we don't lock you into contracts or anything. So it's $65 a month for a monthly subscription. So you can give it a try for a month and see if it works for you. We're pretty confident that once you know how to use it and learn how to do everything Eric just said, that you'll want to keep using it. But in case you just need that level of comfort, feel free to give it a try for a month. You can cancel anytime.
Adrian, I've just noticed we've had a question in the chat from Laura, which is, does JADE use any of the information regarding the documents uploaded? I understand it's not available for the public, but is the data used internally? No, we don't. We can't pull anything down from our servers that a user has uploaded in any kind of readable format. So no, we don't use any of the data internally.
Oh, great. Thanks for that.
No worries.
We and just another thing I sometimes mention in the introduction, but because today's such a quick session, I try to hurry through it. But we also don't have access to anything anyone is searching. Privacy, privilege, and security are all front of mind for us. This has been designed by barristers who are very, very mindful of that sort of thing, as you can imagine. Great. All right. I think might leave it at that. And have a nice day. Might see you at a follow-up session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.